Tell me, if you will, are you a fan of war-themed strategy board games, or are the monsters and magic of modern trading card games more your style? Today, I'd like to introduce you to a game that asks the question, why not both? Doorkeeper is a 2 or more player wartime competition where each player summons forth heroes, troops, monsters, and artifacts from both history and mythology in order to battle against one another. In this game, everything from troop placement, power, and position are considered crucial factors in determining a winner. The first player to either defeat all enemy leaders or conquer all territories wins. Conscript powerful units. Compete against friends. Conquer everything. This is Doorkeeper, Table Terrain Card Game. Hello everyone, I'm Nick from Nick Studios, and today I will serve as your guide as we enter the door to adventure. This is a game of options and choices. This does not mean that you will follow through with every choice available to you. With that being said, I know that this is quite a lot to take in. There are all sorts of different words, numbers, symbols, and colors that may seem overwhelming at first, but I promise that by the end of this video, it will seem not only intuitive, but quite straightforward. Something to keep in mind is that in a turn of Doorkeeper, there is a lot that you can do, but not necessarily a lot that you're going to do. With that out of the way, in the upper left-hand corner, we see the field. This is a 3x3 grid of territory cards, and it is also where you will be placing your legions. Beneath that is the door. This is where your 3 leaders are placed. Again, keep in mind that you need to protect your leaders while defeating your enemies. Beneath that, we see the deck zones, discard pile, and void. These are where you will be drawing cards from, as well as placing discarded or destroyed cards. On the right, we see the 6 legion zones, as well as the 6 resource zones. Units are grouped together in what are known as legions, which consist of up to 5 units. Resources include cards like artifacts, events, siege weapons, and constructs. However, constructs will be played on the field, siege weapons will be played in legion zones, and artifacts and events are played in resource zones. Lastly, at the bottom there, you see that we have a hand. A hand consists of most often 5 cards with a maximum of 7 cards. With that out of the way, let's take a closer look at the field and door. In Doorkeeper, there are 4 main classes of cards. First, we have the leader cards. In your door, you will have exactly 3 leader cards. Leader cards all have a value listed in the upper left-hand corner of the card, which lists how many orders or actions that leader can take during a turn. All of your leader's orders are pooled together, which allows you, on average, to have access to roughly 9 orders. In this particular case, we have access to 10. As with all cards in Doorkeeper, the bottom third or so is used to indicate the card's card effects. For leaders, these card effects are activated once the leader reaches a certain level. A leader is promoted or demoted, which means leveling up or leveling down, every time that you conquer or lose a territory, respectively. Next, we have the field. The field is a 3x3 grid of territory cards. The first row is flipped face up to indicate that these territories are under your control. A territory card is a card which, once per turn, will produce a power token of a particular element. In this case, the prairie produces 1 lucent or light power token. Each territory produces 1 power token, and as such, I have 1 power token placed on each card. The purpose of a power token is to pay for essentially any card in Doorkeeper. In the event that we had already spent some power tokens to summon forth some unit cards, which are the 3rd class of card in Doorkeeper, we may have an established legion already on the field. For the sake of illustration, I will indicate a legion that we control in red and a legion that our enemy controls in blue. Since we have a legion within range of an opposing legion, we may now enter a skirmish. During a skirmish, the 2 legions clash. Here at the bottom, we have our legion, which is the attacking legion, and at the top, we have the opposing legion, the countering legion. Just as with most actions in Doorkeeper, we have to spend an order to declare an attack. However, our opponent does not have to spend an order to declare a counter. Before the attack can even go through, however, we must first check to see that the legions are within view of one another. In the bottom here, we have this example card, the Terracotta Warrior. As you can see in the upper left-hand corner, it lists its power value of 2, as well as a view arrow pointing forward. Since the opposing legion also uses Terracotta Warriors with view arrows pointing forward, this means that both legions are within view of one another, and thus both sides are able to attack one another. To see what this looks like, let's cut back to the field. Here we have our two legions. Again, our legion is in red, and the opposing legion is in blue. And here we have the view arrows from the Terracotta Warriors pointed towards one another. If our legion did not have a view arrow pointed towards the enemy, then we could not launch an attack. However, if the opposing legion did not have a view arrow pointed towards us, then we could of course still launch our attack, but they could not launch their counterattack. This means that we would deal damage to them, but they could not deal damage back to us. This is known as an ambush. As you can see, on the bottom where we have our legion has a total power of 8. This comes from the 2 + 3 + 3 power values of our 3 cards, totaled up to 8. Meanwhile, the opposing legion has a total of 10 power. This is bad news for us. Since the opposing legion has more power than we do, our legion will be wiped out. Damage in Doorkeeper is applied left to right. What this means is that the first card on the left side of the legion's controller takes the damage first, and then if there is any remaining damage, it is then carried over onto the next unit. If that unit is also destroyed and there is remaining damage, it is then carried on to the subsequent unit and so forth. Since our legion was completely annihilated by the counter legion, we must remove the die indicating our legion. The last type of card, the resource card, includes cards such as constructs. In this case, we have a gold mine with the ability produce and a requirement that it's played on a Terra territory or a mountain. Since we have a Terra territory in the form of a forest, we are able to play the gold mine onto the Terra territory, and thanks to the produce effect, the gold mine will produce us 2 Terra power tokens during our production phase. Resources are cards that most often provide helpful effects to our legions or just general production. However, they may also help us in the form of offensive attacks against our opponent, such as traps or enchantments. On the topic of the phases of a turn, let's return back to the full board state. Okay, so in Doorkeeper, there are 4 phases of a turn. This is easy to remember because all you have to recall is the acronym POSE. During the production step, we will produce tokens on territories and constructs that we control on the field. We then draw cards from the unit deck and or resource deck and add them to our hand. From our hand, we may spend those tokens as well as orders, thanks to our leaders, to play these cards onto resource zones or legion zones. Newly formed legions are sent to the door, where from the door, they are then deployed onto the field. And then on the field, they will move around, conquer new territories to produce more tokens and promote our leaders, as well as engage in further skirmishes. And that's really about it. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. If this video has interested you, please like, comment, and subscribe so that you too can enter the door to adventure.